Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for December 20th, 2024, probably the last meeting of the year. I'm Benji Fisher, sharing my screen and moderating, and also present are Ralph Kohler, Simo Helston, and Thomas Howell. Thanks all for coming. So I'm looking at this issue, 3387665. Warn user when entity delete will cause menu item reparenting. That's sort of a mouthful. So let me illustrate the problem. So I have a standard umami install here. And if I go to the menus, I have to do a little bit of preparation. Go to the main navigation, and I'm going to add another top level element to this menu. I'll just go to the front page. And I'm going to show any children it might have because I'm going to give it children in a minute. There it is. Let me also open a new tab in, it doesn't matter as long as it's not the default container. And here I am not logged in. I can see the new top level menu. Let's see, another thing I have to do in preparation is edit the menu block, which I guess I can do using the contextual link on the home page. Contextual links, ooh, that's a problem. Come on, contextual links. There's a little scroll bar here. Okay, that's a bug in the umami theme, I guess. Do. And what do I have to do here? I forget. Maybe I don't need to fix this, but it was so hard to get here that I'll leave this open. And then what I next want to do is add some children to that menu item that I just created. So let's put some English articles just because that's easier for me. And open 2 or 3 of them in another tab. And I'm just going to make each of them a link underneath the thing that I just described, just added. And I'm going to shorten the default titles just because it'll look silly otherwise. That should do. I want to keep it published. Good. Same thing for the next one. And the next one. Um, and now if you switch to where I'm not logged in and reload, now there is something I have to do. What? Here we go. That's what I have to change. Okay, so I have to configure the menu block to show more than one level if I actually want to see the results, which isn't absolutely necessary, but it sort of makes it clearer. There's a CSS problem here. The Umami theme is just not designed to have more than one level show in the main menu. Um, so I would call that perhaps a limitation rather than a bug. So now what happens if I were to go, so here's where I am logged in. Yes. And if I were to disable that menu type, that menu item, um, menus, main navigation, if I say it's not enabled, then none of those child things would show. When I reload the page, they go away. And on the other hand, if I actually delete it, whether or not I have disabled it first, if I delete it, I only get the standard message. This action cannot be undone. Are you sure you want to delete the custom menu link top level? But if I go ahead and delete it, the effect is that those links not only reappear, but they become top level menu items. So this issue says that's a surprising result, and we should warn the user about it with a more specific message in the delete box. So questions at this point? Do you understand what problem the issue is trying to solve? Go ahead, Thomas.
I have a very simple question. What's the behavior when there's like three levels? I'm assuming that like if you had top level, middle level, and the three, and you deleted the top or middle level, it just reparents in an expected way, meaning
That
they wouldn't show at the top, they wouldn't all move up to where they are. They would just kind of collapse down one.
that's right. If there were children of carrots, then they would still be children of carrots, and now they would be second level in the menu rather than third level.
Cool. I just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Welcome. Uh, Someone else raised a hand. Maybe you had the same question.
Yep, same question.
Okay. Um, so I'll do this in a window that you can't see. Um, but I'm going to check out the feature branch. Oh, that's right. I was doing it on my other computer, so I haven't done the prep yet. I need to um I don't have that branch available yet. So give me a minute in the terminal window that I'm not sharing. Okay. Okay. Clear caches. Um, and so now I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to create a new page. Um, I'm going to make it published. And I will put it at the top level of the menu. And then when I reload, menu page. I see my new top level. I'm going to move a bit up just for convenience. Oops. And put those three things underneath it. And save that. Um, now, I don't see the children. Why is that? Because I forgot to make it expanded. That, by the way, several months ago, maybe probably more than a year ago, we redesigned this edit menu link page and put that checkbox underneath this details element that's collapsed by default. Now that I actually want to use it, that's a little inconvenient. Um, and this is totally off out of scope, but I think we talked at the time about adding the expanded checkbox to this table, um, which at the moment seems like a good idea, but um, again, that's out of scope. Okay, so here I again see the children. Um, so now, cross my fingers, hope this works. I should get a warning message if I delete the menu item. Yes. So here's the standard. This action cannot be undone. And then here's the warning text that's been added. And that's the main thing that they've asked for help for on the issue is the wording. The menu items for this custom menu link has three children menu items. Deleting this custom menu link will cause these children menu items to move to the same level as the deleted menu item. Affected menu items include carrots, mushrooms, supermarket. Going to cancel there. And I'm going to go back to the node edit form, or actually I'll go to the node delete form. And I see the same message here. It's slightly different. It's the menu items for this content item has three children menu items. Deleting this content item will cause these children menu items to move to the same level as the deleted menu item. Affected menu items include carrots, mushrooms, and supermarket. Um, and I guess I forgot to ask at the start, do you agree that a warning message is the appropriate thing to do at this point? Is it just a question of wording, or should there be a totally different solution? Go ahead, Ralph.
Just one question up front. Could you perhaps click on cancel and to the test scenario add another level that would be affected by the deletion? And if the error message then differs or if it's the same, and
Uh,
also how the case is visually presented then on that warning message.
yeah, so I'll make one of these three not
Yeah.
a child, but a grandchild. And then I'm pretty sure it will only report on the direct children. These both will be moved up one. Also, mushrooms will be moved up one, but it will still be a child of carrots. And I should get more or less the same message whether I delete the menu item or the node. Satisfied?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thomas?
So I blame you for this. You opened the door because I was going to make this comment and say it was out of scope. But I remember this specific behavior from way, way back in the day. And rather than an error, what I personally had always wanted was the option to move the children elsewhere. So I wanted to ask, would you like to move these to some other parent? And, I do not know if that is in scope, but to me, I think back to what I think about as the crazy librarian scenario where like they would insist on having like 50 links under a parent, and manually moving them over was painful. And today I just thought of, wow, why don't I just move the parent over to a different parent? And then when you delete it, they would collapse to where you want. So I think that there is a working solution. I don't think that what I'm suggesting is required or necessary in any way. But behaviorally, I would have liked to see the option. Would you prefer to like warn you, or would you like to move these to a different parent? That's it.
Okay. So you're proposing an entirely different solution that we actually give them some options to
Yeah,
change what will happen rather than just warn them.
correct.
Okay, Ralph?
Um, for one, about the question you had, Benji, I think warning would be the only available option because an error it is not. So, but it is an important decision with implications, and therefore an error is and warning is definitely okay. And yeah, about Thomas's point, a double thumbs up. Completely agree. To provide the option, and either or, though, either you proceed like in the way it is currently, or provide the option on that step to, yeah, with, for example, a select list of the potential destinations that tree of menu items could go to. But I think I would consider it out of the scope for this issue because at the moment it's simply about informing the user that's impossible, and yeah, maybe suggest a follow-up issue with that functionality.
Okay, you're getting a thumbs up from Thomas. Um, yeah, and as to error warning, I completely agree that warning is appropriate, and we already have the standard confirm form, right? But before I switched to the feature branch, we already had this confirm form. It just didn't have this extended information. It had the standard, this action cannot be done, delete or cancel. Um, Go ahead.
And one addition about the microcopy itself, there is one nitpick I would to raise is basically in regards of readability, having numbers as numerics written down for numbers between 1 and 10. I'm aware that it's probably due to the fact that it's simply a variable with a count of 1, 2, 3, and so forth. But yeah, to have actual 1, 2 as I'm not sure what the right term in English is, as a word instead of a number, um, would be probably the preferable approach. And yeah, anything past 10 or 12 maybe then move to numeric.
Yeah, so you'd rather see TWO, you'd rather have two
Yeah,
spelled out rather than the digit
yeah.
two. Um, that seems out of scope for me. That's something that affects interface text all over Drupal. And I wouldn't want to make it part of this issue. But if we could add some sort of standard function that makes it easy to translate uh, single digit numbers into their written versions, that would be an interesting enhancement. Um, and I'm also going to push back on the idea that we include options in this confirm form. First of all, confirm forms are by design rather simple. And second, you're duplicating functionality that already exists. And you're sort of violating the single responsibility principle. So if I realize that I don't want these two guys to be top level, I can cancel from the confirm form. I can take my whole top level menu item and make it a child of home or of articles. And now when I delete this one, all of its children become children of articles rather than top level. Go ahead, Thomas.
So I did mention that was an option, but the thing is, as an earlier developer, that's kind of a, you have to understand how it works to be able to come to that conclusion. It isn't to me necessarily obvious from the UI that that's the solution to that problem. So it can be done, but it is not something that I think immediately jumps out. And I just, maybe including instruction text on how to do that then in the warning, like how to handle it. But it presupposes a level of comprehension that is not going to be there for everyone. And yet I feel this is a pretty common situation where people delete a top level thing. And because I absolutely remember doing it and ending up with 20 things in the wrong level and then spending a ton of time trying to find them all because it was doing it like alphabetized or blah, 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 blah. And I don't know how all of that works in more complex situations today. Only I find the fact that it can be done does not necessarily equate to it's something that will be done by people who are not more advanced comprehenders of how the UI works.
Okay, you got a thumbs up from Ralph for that. And yeah, I'm certainly willing to uh, think about changing um, the text to add something. Yeah, I guess I always say that the purpose of an error warning message is to first um, inform what is going to happen or what has happened, and second, provide next steps. So if we want to suggest um, moving things around, we can certainly add something to this. So I think then we should start thinking about the text. But go ahead, Ralph.
Um, just one thought. I definitely a good point you've raised, Benji, with that single responsibility. Um, so I wonder, and also trying mindful about the point Thomas raised afterwards, that not people that are not that familiar with Drupal yet and the underlyings might struggle. And I imagine it might be difficult to have some sort of extensive help text there on that error, on that warning. So I wonder, instead of making it an either or, making that help text and then an option like I've suggested previously, why not simply add that move functionality and also include the root as the default option of the behavior it currently has, and then provide the other options it can move to. So it isn't, and it might also have the advantage for keyboard users that way, because with the drag handles, it's more tricky, and that way you could directly choose the destination where the whole tree should go to. Just as an idea.
Okay, let's see if we edit the menu item.
It's basically the parent
It's the
link.
parent link. Yes. So right, that's easier than clicking and dragging. Um, Also, if I were to delete um, the node, I guess from the node delete form, um, I guess one option is that I can then go to edit the node form and change the parent link. Um, but maybe a better option would be to give a link to the edit form, this edit form, where I have more options for changing the parent link. So are we ready to talk about the text?
Uh, I'd like to bring up another option that
Go
in
ahead.
some cases the preferred, yeah, I think in some cases the preferred action would be to also delete the children. So not to move them, but also delete them. So that might be in some cases the preferred action for the user.
Sure, that's a good point. Um, Gee, is there any easy way to bulk delete? No, this is not a bulk actions form. Um, so I wonder, so I guess another thing that I often say is that we have the luxury of not worrying about implementation. And I am worrying about that. That seems like a hard thing to do, but maybe I should, believe what I say and not worry about the implementation and just say for usability, it would be good to offer that option. But I do think that might be a follow-up issue. Go ahead, Thomas.
I both think that it is an interesting option to include, but I would caution that I think we'd want to confirm our assumption that it's something people want to do. I could see lots and lots of tears if someone accidentally selected something like that. So it seems like a dangerous option. I can definitely see its use, and it's hard to imagine both what I brought up and what Simo brought up because we have only a couple of links right now. Both options really are more pertinent when you're dealing with like a live site, especially ones where maybe you've generated a bunch of content and ended up with really complex menu structures. That's where both options are more important than just saying, hey, it's going to happen. I think in these smaller use cases, it's not nearly as bothersome.
Right. And there was some discussion on the issue about cases where people have lots and lots of menu items. So, Thomas, you've said that that happens in real life. And there's been some discussion on whether it's sort of an edge case or whether it's more common. But 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 in particular, if there are 50 items, should we list all of them in this confirmation form, or should we, just list the first five or something? The current consensus on the issue is to list them all. Um, and also, I want to point out that there's a lot of room for confusion, especially when menu links are often associated to nodes, but not necessarily. Are we just deleting the menu link or are we actually deleting the node? Um, and then are we deleting just the direct children or also all descendants? So getting a thumbs up from Thomas. I really think that any bulk deletion option should be a separate issue so that it can get the attention it deserves. And Ralph, you've been patient. Go ahead.
Um, I agree that it might be useful to have some sort of bulk deletion option, but the only problem I see is basically you already are on a confirmation step for deletion or on the error message where you have that confirmation step. And then if on that step you have the option to, for example, let's say a checkbox with, not only move, but also instead delete them, then you would need, strictly speaking, another confirmation step to prevent the case of what Thomas said, an accidental check of that, let's say, checkbox and the proceeding, and then 50, the whole structure of, let's say, 50 menu items is gone. And that would be fatal. And therefore, having another step there, that's also something to mind.
Right. So I think basically you're giving further arguments for making it a separate follow-up issue rather than,
Definitely as a follow-up, but I definitely also see the usefulness of that feature.
yeah. So as I said, it needs
Right.
a separate issue to fully work out
Yep.
how it would work. Go ahead, Simo.
I was wondering if it's possible to have that kind of combination of permissions that the user is able to delete a content item that has child menu items that are of a content type that they don't have permissions to edit. So is there that kind of a possibility for permission conflicts? So would they be able to access the titles of the pages or the menu item labels always? So is that under a single permission?
So are you still thinking about the option of deleting all the children or just the
I'm
original?
thinking about listing them in the confirmation form.
I see. Are there access issues? Might I have permission to delete this node, but not have access to see these links? I think that was also brought up on the issue. Um, and um, yeah, I think that can happen. I think, for example, what happens if I unpublish one of these children? Or we have content moderation, so I don't unpublish, I archive it, right? Then what happens? I think it'll still be there. Yeah, it's still there on the um, menu, but if I don't have permission to see unpublished content, then um, then I think I wouldn't be able to see it here. Um, yeah, of course, currently I'm logged in as a full admin, so I can see everything. But yeah, I think that was actually explicitly discussed on the issue. Decide if how to show menu items that the user doesn't have access to. So that decision is one of the remaining tasks. And yeah, if you search for the word access on the page, it has been discussed. And I think the answer is that um, if if someone doesn't have access to something, we don't even tell them that it exists, and we certainly don't show it to them. And that's more of a security issue than usability issue, I would say. So we are more than halfway through the meeting. We have about 20 minutes left. I'd like to discuss the wording of the warning message. And I get a thumbs up from Thomas. So looking at this message, the first thing that strikes me is that it is too long. So can we reword it? There's
I think one thing could be at least to remove as many items as possible so that you could start calling things with a kind of a less detailed name. Or that kind of a children menu items could be called something, either children or something like that. So it could be use like shorter versions referring to things that are being manipulated.
so you're suggesting that we drop these two words and just say the menu items has two children?
Yeah, so that could be done.
Okay. Thomas?
I'm wondering if we can't drop that entire second sentence and say this action item cannot be undone, deleting, deleting this custom menu link with n number of children will cause these children menu items. And should it be children or is it these child menu items to move to the same level as the deleted menu item? Like I would just pull that entire sentence and take any mission critical words and make them part of the next sentence.
All right. So in fact, you're suggesting we just delete this sentence that I'm highlighting. I think we could also delete this
Hmm.
short sentence here and just put a colon at the end of the main sentence. You're
Agreed.
getting a thumbs up from Ralph. Yeah, I think that's definitely on the right track. I
Also,
think we
your
can.
suggestion is a thumb up. Also to your suggestion,
Okay, thanks.
to both.
So let's see. Let me open um, uh, how do you open Google Docs? Is it docs.google? And a blank document. Here we go. And let me share, go away. Good enough. Um, anyone with the link can edit, copy the link, and put that in the Zoom chat. Okay. So let me just start by copying that and stripping out this.
The this
And
action cannot be undone bit is also missing in the
good point. Um, yeah, of course, we've seen this before, that first sentence, this action cannot be undone, is part of the standard message. Now, the way this is implemented is with an alter hook. So it's kind of dangerous to overwrite um, any existing text that might be there because there might be other alter hooks or there might be um, content deletion forms. So I really think it's the right decision to add to whatever text is already there. Um, so I think and again here I'm falling into the trap of thinking about implementation, but I think it's the right decision to keep this line. Ralph?
Just one question. Would it be possible to move that line at the end so that you first tell deleting this custom menu link will cause blah, 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 blah. And at the end, then this action cannot be undone?
We could do that, of course, but again, consider the possibility that there might already be other custom or other pre-existing text that
Oh, okay.
might also be important, and consider that we might have a very long list of child menu items. Um, I'd rather not push the existing text way down the page.
I thought, oh, okay. My thinking was basically that deleting this custom menu link will cause blah, blah, blah. This action can be undone, and then underneath the list of menu items.
Yeah, I didn't copy that, but yes, that list would be here. Thomas?
I think that Ralph's very last suggestion doesn't work because of how we're using hook alter. And I would personally want to emphasize, like, you could delete all the rest of the message. The one thing to me that matters is this action cannot be undone. Because anything destructive, if I could make it on fire, shiny red, and it makes noises, I would do so. Because I am, like, to me, that is the core warning that we are communicating, and the rest of it is contextual information. Now, I think it's important contextual information, and I want to keep it, but I think using hook alter, not getting rid of anything, but I would want to emphasize they never lose the this action cannot be undone, because that's why we are warning the user.
Okay.
Your example is missing the one thing where I kind of implied we should add like the number two or the n number of children menu items. We can add that metadata somewhere along there. So however you think is appropriate.
Yeah, so the two was in the sentence that we deleted. We could easily um, move it to the sentence that we're keeping.
But I would keep that these will cause
Okay.
these two children menu items.
I find it a little bit confusing, the part where the items will move to the same level as the deleted menu item, because the menu item will be deleted, so they won't be at the same level, but that's where the menu item was. So it's kind of a, I find it a little bit confusing because it's not using a tense.
Right. So maybe instead of talking about menu levels, we should talk about parents. How about we'll make these two children menu items uh, children let me be a little verbose for the moment. Direct children. Of the deleted menu items parent. Is that moving in the right direction, Simo?
Mhm. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Clearly there's still room for improvement in that. Go ahead, Ralph.
Um, I would make it rather more explicit and simply state deleting this custom menu link will make these two menu items, will make menu item X the parent for these two child menu items. So it is not that vague, but instead it makes it explicit. So basically that, yeah, for example, I don't know, recipes will be the new parent for
That's
these two
actually
children.
one of the 10 principles. Recognition instead of recall.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, that's one of the Nielsen's heuristics, recognition rather than recall.
Recognition rather than recall. Yes. Um, although if we're already at the top level, then um, you'd have to say something like root. You'd have to have some way to get across the idea that they'll be top level. Thomas?
So you're gonna hate me, but I might I might move the order of this a little bit. I'm not fond of make, so I would go more. I don't know. I think it's the wrong word, but I would be more intentional and say deleting this custom menu link will move these two children to the parent or root, and I'm still kind of uncomfortable with children because children and menu items are both plural, whereas I would have said these two child menu items. And I don't know how we handle the case of a single, like, what does it do? It's when it's the parent or when it's one child menu item, like, is there a way to have that detected? And in the case of singular, change the language. Otherwise, it's going to be grammatically wrong.
Yes, that's certainly possible, and I think it already handles that. So if I make another of these children a grandchild, um, and I delete this as one child menu item, cause this child menu item. So yeah, the plural versus singular is already handled. Um, so Thomas, is this more or less what you want? We'll move these two.
Because
How do you want to phrase this?
I keep on thinking it is a child menu item, and then you pluralize child menu items, but maybe everywhere in Drupal they say children items. It's not redundant, but it doesn't sound right because I don't call a single thing. I don't know. To me, child is more correct, but yeah.
Okay, but we still need to fill in a little something here. We'll move these two child menu items.
To the parent link or root, like keep it very simple. To the So I add the word the. So to the, and then It's going to be either parent link or root. And it's just the same way it switches to item for singular, it shows root in the use case of
How about top level?
even better.
That is what I wanted to say.
Yeah,
Root is too abstract for non-technical users,
yeah.
and simply in the case um, it becomes a top-level item, then yeah, it become those two child menu items become top-level menu items.
Right. And with this way of phrasing it that Thomas suggested, that gives a pretty good solution. I mean, if I were to replace root here with top level, it just wouldn't make sense. But this phrasing it does work pretty well.
Yeah, and in case it is top-level, then change the to the become top-level items.
Okay.
So just the case in the context of basically moving to top-level items, then and the to the is correct in the context of the parent link, and
Right. So in that alternative, we have to the parent link,
yeah.
or um, we'll move these two child on the to the top level. No, you don't
No,
want.
no, no. I would basically make it two cases, because like an if statement. In if it's basically to another parent link, then it's to the parent link. And if it's the case, it's moved to the root, then it would, instead of to the parent link, the whole sentence would end with become top level items.
Okay. So all of this
Yeah.
would change. Okay. So move these two child to the parent link. Let me just maybe italicize that. Or
They become top level.
Yeah, but I would make it, I wouldn't provide two different outcomes with an or. I would simply
I,
stay in the context.
right, the or should be logical. It's not.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
actually printed.
right.
Exactly.
Or make these two child menu items top level. And yes, Thomas said what I meant.
Okay, no, I understand. Okay. Yeah.
How about instead of to the move these two child menu items under?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we are almost at the end of the hour. We have 3 minutes left. I do want to point out one thing um, in the current text, and maybe we don't have to worry about this because we deleted the whole sentence, but here we are deleting a node and there's a menu item associated to that node. And of course, in the interface text, we don't say node, we say content item. So that's why we have this sort of circumlocution, the menu items for this content item. Um, now,
Mm.
over here, when we're deleting the menu link, we still have the menu items for this custom menu link. So maybe we've sidestepped this entire problem by deleting that sentence. But if we haven't, then I think that in the special case where you're deleting a custom menu link, you don't need to say the menu items for this custom menu link. You can just say this custom menu link. Um, does that make sense? Do you agree? Thumbs up from Thomas. Okay, but if we're lucky, then we're entirely sidestepping that problem by rewording it, and I get a thumbs up from Ralph too. And there's also this has, which doesn't agree with menu items. Um, I guess that's a common grammatical mistake. You have plural is the subject should agree with has, but you get confused by the singular for this menu link that's right next to, which is how, which is not what the has. Anyway, with any luck, we won't have to worry about that because we're totally rewriting it. Okay, I will comment on the issue. I will suggest that further tweaking of the language is fine because we didn't have time to come up with a final recommendation. But I think that what we have here is a big improvement and pretty close to what we should be using.
And I would also add this action cannot be undone to the suggestion underneath.
Okay,
Not that the impression comes up, it should be removed by the people reading it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Great. Thanks all for coming. I think we probably won't meet next week. The Zoom link will be available if anyone wants to join. I might join myself, but I just know from past experience that a day or two after Christmas is likely to have very few people want to show up for the meeting. So enjoy your holidays, and we'll do this again in the new year.
Thanks, Benchy. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Benchy.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.